All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel. Of course, your personification of excellence on YouTube and the YWC. We're the best reviews wrestling and your three-time YWC channel of the year. And I'm back here. It is, of course, Saturday night, Saturday, March the 14th of 2026. So I'm here for my second video of the day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video that I did earlier. I just had to get some stuff off my chest, whatever have you. So, of course, that video is up on the channel already. And I want to go ahead and do this video. It's, of course, late night. It's approaching midnight here. So by the time you all see this, it will most likely be Sunday, March the 15th. So I wanted to go ahead in advance and say the happy, hope you all have a good weekend and all that. And as we head into Sunday, and so, yeah, wanted to go ahead and get this video out of the way. So, yeah, so hope you guys enjoy. And as I try to, get back to doing more content, I am getting back to doing more content and all that kind of stuff. So, here with this video, I'm here to give you, as promised, as advertised, I'm here tonight to give you my official AEW Revolution 2026 pay-per-view predictions video. So as you all should know, Revolution takes place tomorrow night. We're less than 24 hours away from AEW Revolution 2026. It will be, of course, on Sunday, March 15th, as I mentioned before. And with that being said, wanted to go ahead and give you guys my predictions video, as I've been basically promising the entire week. A little later than anticipated, of course, it's literally the night of, but I did say that I wanted to kind of wait and put it off as much as possible until we get like the full match card, and I think we have that. So earlier in the night, I did catch Collision, the back end of it. I went back and got the results, and so decent enough episode. And Dynamite, by the way, the go home show for Dynamite was really solid. But yeah, so I wanted to go ahead and give you guys my predictions, and so I do think that Revolution is shaping up to be a very good pay-per-view for AEW's first official pay-per-view of 2026. And if you guys have been paying attention for like the last several years, especially last year, every time AEW does a pay-per-view, they always, always, always deliver on their pay-per-views. Like, it's one of the things that you can always count on when it comes to AEW. They will always deliver quality pay-per-views, no matter what show it is. And I think Revolution will be no different. So, with that in mind, let me go ahead and give you guys the rundown, give you guys my predictions for the matches that have been announced for AEW's Revolution 2026 pay-per-view. So let's get into it here. So for those of you who are, of course, are familiar with the channel and how I do these predictions videos, you should know how this goes. For anybody new, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at every match that has been scheduled for the card or announced for the card for tomorrow night for Revolution. Just give a brief kind of thoughts on the match, whatever have you. I'll try not to make this video be too long. Kind of do a little bit of rapid fire because again, we are less than 24 hours away from the pay-per-view. I wanted to go ahead and get this video in. So yeah, just briefly, give my thoughts on the match, itself, whatever match it is, whether I think it would be good or not, or whether I'm looking forward to it, so on and so forth, and then give you my prediction as to who I think is going to win and briefly why. So with that being said, without further ado, let us get into AEW Revolution 2026 and my predictions. So as we currently stand, there are 13 matches that have been announced for the show, for the card as a whole, with 3 of them being for the 0 hour, and the remaining 10 being for the main pay-per-view. Now, they may add a match or two between now and tomorrow. It's very likely, we'll see what happens. They usually do add a match last minute to the pre-show or the 0 hour. But with that being said, this is the announced card so far. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and go through every match, and I will give you my predictions, all that kind of stuff. So we will start with the 0 hour matches, the first 3 matches here. So the first one will be a 21-man blackjack battle royal for the AEW National Championship. It is going to be the champion Ricochet defending against his challengers, that being Tommaso Ciampa, Trent Beretta, Rocky Romero, Jalistico, Roosh, Scorpio Sky, Daniel Garcia, Anthony Bowens, Hook, Katsuya Shibata, Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, Ace Austin, Ace Austin, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and then it says to be announced. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 15 uh, 15 participants that have been announced, and I'm guessing the remaining six will be to be announced, or there'll be surprise entries, or whatever the case may be. Now, I'm not sure what a blackjack battle royal is. I'm not sure if like that's similar to the casino. Well, it's not a gauntlet; it's a battle royal. So I imagine all the participants will be in the ring at the same time, or they'll come out in intervals. I think they've had something like this before, where they've had battle royals where participants will come out in like intervals, whatever have you. I don't know if it's that, but that's pretty much what this is: 21-man blackjack battle royal, where they'll come out in intervals, to kind of. Usually they don't have something like this at Double or Nothing because it kind of fits the theme, but they're having that at Revolution, so. But yeah, so it's obviously the intrigue here is seeing like who all is going to be in the ring, how this match goes. Although I think I know how it goes, and seeing who like the to be announced entries are, the six participants who have yet to be announced. I'm kind of curious because we may have some surprise entries and all that kind of stuff. But this is shaping up to be a very fun match. I mean, anytime you have a battle royal, especially with a title on the line, it's usually generally a fun match to watch. And I'm pretty sure with the names, that are announced, I think it's going to be a fun match. As to who wins, it's really hard to say again because this is a battle royal and anything can happen. But I'm inclined to believe that Ricochet is more than likely going to find a way to retain the title here. Like, that's kind of where I'm going. Unless, they pull the swerve on us and they have just a huge surprise entry, which they could very well could. And again, this is part of the reason why it's so hard to predict. But for the time being, for this video, I'm going to say that Ricochet retains just because I feel like that's what they're going to do. So yeah, give me Ricochet to retain the national title here in this 21-man blackjack battle royal. We'll see what happens though. Moving on. So next, we get our second match of the 0 hour. It's going to be a singles match for the AEW TBS Championship. The champion, Willow Nightingale, defends against newcomer, up-and-comer, that being Lena Cross. So we've seen Lena Cross. She made her debut last month at Grand Slam Australia in February, and she is quite an imposing figure in the women's division. She's been teaming recently with Megan Bayne. She's aligned herself with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford as of late, and she's like more of kind of like the enforcer or bruiser, whatever have you. And of course, Megan Bayne, who's an enforcer in her own right. She's obviously very physically imposing woman in her own right. And you have the combination of Lena Cross and Megan Bayne. It's like, holy cow, those are two big ass women. But yeah, so Lena Cross has definitely impressed. The few matches we've seen of her. She won a match earlier on a Collision versus Mina Shirakawa. And so, yeah, this ought to be a hard-hitting match. Willow Nightingale has been a fighting champion, since winning the TBS title in shocking fashion from Mercedes Moné, who, ended up who actually took the title from Willow Nightingale in the first place. But yeah, so Willow Nightingale's been a fighting champion. She's been a game champion. It's likely going to be one of her biggest challenges since, being TBS champion. So it should be a fun match. It should be a solid match. Very physical, obviously, to, imposing women, especially Lena Cross. I'm curious to see how Willow is going to combat the size and the power game of Lena Cross. We'll see what happens. As to who wins, it could go either way. But I'm going to go ahead for the sake of this. I'll say Willow Nightingale finds a way to overcome, finds a way to overcome the more, you could say the slightly more physically imposing Lena Cross here, and I think she will retain the TBS title here. I just get that feeling. So give me Willow Nightingale over Lena Cross here to retain the TBS title. We'll see what happens. And then finally, the third match of the 0 hour is going to be a feature tag team match. It is going to be the team of Boom and Doom, that being Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, however you pronounce his name, versus the Infantry, that being Captain Sean Dean and Charlie Bravo, whatever. Of course, accompanied by Trish Adora. So tag match here: Boom and Doom versus the Infantry. This is obviously something. This is obviously a match that AEW just throws out there to kind of entertain the fan. Anytime you have a match featuring Big Boom AJ, it's basically just they usually have matches featuring him on the 0 hour and stuff like that. This kind of falls in that category, so it should be all right for what it is. I don't expect anything major. I mean, it's QT Marshall. I mean, QT Marshall has been like, an undercard guy for the longest time. I find it funny that QT Marshall and Big Boom AJ are teaming up because they had like a program for a little bit. They were like actually feuding or whatever. Now they're in a team. It's kind of like okay, and the infantry, they're more so like Ring of Honor guys, but I guess they wanted to have them in this tag match here, so we'll see. But we'll see what happens. It should be a decent enough match. Nothing really, nothing really to write home about, but it should be an okay enough match, I guess. As to who wins, obviously, obviously it's going to be Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. It's obviously going to be Boom and Doom winning, so it's kind of fairly predictable. Like I said, basically any match featuring Big Boom AJ is likely, especially these tag matches, it's more than likely that he's going over. So a little predictable there, but I'll take AJ, Big Boom AJ, QT Marshall over the infantry. All right, so then we move on. Those are all the 0 hour matches that have been announced. So now we move on to the main card of the pay-per-view, and those matches go as follows. We will start with a Tornado Trios match. It is going to be the team of Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong versus the Dogs, the newly formed, or I guess, debuted, I should say, the new faction of the Dogs, that being David Finlay, of course, who recently arrived in AEW, David Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd. So we've been seeing this back and forth between Gabe Kidd and Darby Allin for the better part of a month now. They've had several segments of Gabe Kidd just going at Darby Allin, all that kind of stuff. And then you had Orange Cassidy get involved. Clark Connors has come in. And then you had the shocking AEW debut of David Finlay, which I reacted to. And I've been wanting David Finlay in AEW for the longest time. And now finally he's here. He's with, he aligns himself with Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors. Of course, they were the Bullet Club War Dogs. Now they're in AEW. They're just the Dogs. So it's obviously, of course, AEW's going to put those guys together. They were part of a faction in New Japan, so it only makes sense. It's only natural they'd be part of a faction in AEW, the familiarity. And so they're taking on Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong here. And it's interesting because Roderick Strong, at first it seemed like he was going to turn on, Orange Cassidy and the conglomeration, and then he basically shows up on Dynamite and he saves Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy from being gang attacked. And so yeah, we'll see kind of how that goes. But this ought to be a fun trios match, and the fact that it's a Tornado Trios match means that all the participants are going to be in the ring at the same time. There's going to be no tags. It's going to be, again, tornado style, which means all 6 guys, both teams are going to be in the ring at the same time, and they're all going to be fighting. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be a fun match. It's going to be all over the place, I imagine. You're going to see a lot of crazy spots, fighting on the outside of the ring, inside the ring. So it should be a very, very high octane, very fast-paced match. As to who wins, I got to give it to the Dogs here, man. I got to give it to David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Clark Connors. I think they want to establish, obviously David Finlay, who literally just debuted a few weeks ago. They want to establish the Dogs as, I think they should, and I think they will, establish the Dogs as a up-and-coming faction, and at some point a top-tier faction that's going to challenge for the AEW Trios titles. I think that's, I think that's an inevitability. So I think the Dogs are going to go over here, and I don't think that's this whole thing with Darby Allin versus Gabe Kidd and his guys. I don't think it's going to end here. I think it's going to continue on for at least another month or so. But yeah, and I think at some point we're going to see David Finlay versus Darby Allin and so on and so forth. So, but give me the Dogs here over Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Roderick Strong. So that's my pick for that match. All right, so next up we have a first title match, or first title defense on the main card. It's going to be a tag match here for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships. The champions, the Babes of Wrath, that being Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, versus the challenging Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. So this is actually going to be the second time in the same night that Willow Nightingale and Lena Cross are going to be in a match together. If you remember, they're going to be in the 0 hour. They face each other in the 0 hour for the TBS Championship, for Willow Nightingale's TBS Championship. And then in this match on the main card, they're going to be in a tag match against each other, this time being for the AEW Women's World Championship. So realistically, there's a chance Willow Nightingale could lose both titles in the same night. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I think I think Will Nightingale's going to retain the TBS title. And then, she's going to basically pull double duty, as will Lita Cross, and compete in this tag match. It's going to be interesting to see, how they do this, because it's very rare that you have two wrestlers, much less two women's wrestlers, compete in compete in two matches on the same card on the same pay-per-view. So it's going to be interesting to see how AEW does that, or play. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of shake up with the schedule where they'll kind of put off this match until later on the night to give those two a bit of rest, after their, 0-hour match. We'll see what happens. But, these two teams have been going back and forth. Like I said, Megan Bayne and Lita Cross have been just a dominant tag team, two physically imposing women. Of course, you have the Babes of Wrath, who are, obviously the inaugural AEW Women's Tag Champions, and they've been fighting champions, and we'll see how they combat, the challenge of Megan Bayne and Lita Cross. So I think it should be a solid match, solid tag match in the women's division. Should be interesting to see how that goes down. As to who wins, it's a toss-up. I did say that Will Nightingale would retain the TBS title in the 0 hour. But in this match, honestly, I could see the Babes of Wrath retaining, but something tells me, I just got this sinking feeling that they might give the titles to the challengers here. I just got that suspicion, I just got that feeling. Maybe they have the Megan Bayne and Lita Cross go over here. I just get that. It's just something about this match. I just get the feeling that we're going to see a title change here. So for the sake of this, I could be wrong, but for the sake of this prediction, I'm going to go ahead and say the challengers win. I'm going to say that Megan Bayne and Lita Cross get it done, and they will defeat the Babes of Wrath, and they will become the new AEW Women's Tag Team Champions. So, give me Lita Cross and Megan Bayne over the Babes of Wrath here, and this will be the first title change of the night, at least if my prediction is correct. But yeah, so that's my prediction for that. So we're gonna have, after this match, after it's all said and done, we're gonna have new AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. I just get that feeling. We'll see what happens though. Moving on. So next up, we have our next match, this one also being in the women's division. This is going to be a singles match, a grudge match, if you will, where everyone is banned from ringside. It's going to be Timeless Toni Storm one-on-one versus Marina Shafir. It says singles match. I thought there was like a stipulation too. I guess the stipulation is that everyone's banned from ringside. But anyway, so we see, Toni Storm and Marina Shafir basically at odds. It's kind of odd because within the last couple months, the Death Riders have kind of leaned towards turning face, but yet Marina Shafir is very much acting like a heel, at least when it comes to Toni Storm and, the conglomeration and so on and so forth. It's really odd, her faction is kind of turning face or acting like, very face, doing face things or whatever, whereas Marina Shafir is still very much a heel, so it's kind of odd, But yeah, so we've been seeing back and forth between Toni Storm and Marina Shafir for a number of months now. Marina Shafir has basically cost Toni Storm matches, tag matches with, where she teamed up with Mina Shirakawa. She's cost her, various matches, throughout the last few weeks, and it's going to culminate in this match here, this grudge match. And like I said, it's going to be a singles match. I was kind of thinking there was going to be like a stipulation, like no DQ, no disqualification, or falls count anywhere. The only stipulation is that everyone is banned from ringside. So we're going to see, hopefully, a clear-cut winner at the end of this match. So we'll see what they do. I do think they're going to put on a solid match here. Again, I did think that there was going to be a stipulation, but I guess, it's going to be a singles match. So they're going to settle it in the ring. So we'll see what happens. I do think it's going to be a solid match, though. As to who wins, I got to go with Timeless Toni Storm here. That's just my prediction. With all due respect to Marina Shafir, she has definitely shown significant strides in terms of her ability over the last year and in terms of her credibility over last year. But I think Timeless Toni Storm is going to pull out this win here. So give me Timeless Toni Storm over Marina Shafir. Moving on. So next up, we're going to have another title match here, second title match. A trios match for the AEW World Trios Championships. The champions, the Don Callis family, Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, versus the team of Mystico and Jet Speed, and of course being Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. So the Don Callis family a couple weeks ago, in fact, I believe it was like the week before last on Dynamite, actually pulled the upset in defeating the former champions, that being Hangman Adam Page and Jet Speed, to win the AEW Trios titles or AEW Trios Championship. So now this is going to be technically their first title defense, and they're going to be defending against 2/3 of the team that they took the titles from, that being Jet Speed, and of course they're going to be joined by Mystico. Of course, Hangman Adam Page is going to be obviously in the main event, so he can't, of course, be in this match. I don't think they want to pull double duty for Hangman Page. But anyway, so this has the makings of another solid match in the trios division. The Don Callis family, like this kind of pairing or not pairing, this trio, not really conventional, but they are part of the same faction. So the last time they were in action together, they did pretty well. Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis do have that familiarity because they were obviously a tag team with Aussie Open, and then Kazuchika Okada, obviously one of the best in the world. He may not have the same luster as he did in New Japan, but he's still very much a top tier, close to a top tier wrestler as you could get. And Jet Speed, solid tag team. They were former trios champions. I think they're definitely going to get it done. And then you added Mystico, who is of course, CMLL legend, longtime CMLL performer. And I think it's this has the makings to be a fun match. I do think it's gonna be a solid outing, a solid trios match, and looking forward to seeing what kind of stunts, what kind of spots that they're going to pull out in this match. So I do think it's going to be solid. As to who wins, I got to give it to the Don Callis family. I don't think they're going to drop the titles in their first title defense, especially against a thrown together. I mean, they are kind of a thrown together team in Mystico and Jet Speed. So, with all due respect to them, the Don Callis family is likely going to retain here. And they're probably going to hold on to the titles for a while because the trios titles generally aren't defended a whole lot. It is what it is, but they generally aren't defended a whole lot. And, usually when AEW makes the call, usually when they change hands, it's usually, sometimes you see it coming, but, I don't think any of us saw the Don Callis family win the trios titles a couple weeks ago, but it is what it is on that. But I got the Don Callis family retaining here. I don't see them dropping the titles in the first title defense, so that's just me. All right. So next up, we have our fifth match on the main card here of Revolution. It is going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW Women's World Championship. The champion, Tekla, versus the former champion, my girl, Chris Statlander. So, this match was made recently, and of course is the rematch, because these two have faced each other previously. The first time, when Chris Statlander was the champion, she defeated Tekla in a singles match to retain the title. And then, obviously, we all know what happened in the strap match, the main event from a couple weeks ago. Tekla, thanks to the Sisters of Sin, pulled out the victory and became the new AEW Women's World Champion. And now we're having this match, which is going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. So, in terms of this one, I don't think there's any stipulations. I think all 3 falls, if it comes to 3 falls, it's going to be standard. I think they're all going to be standard singles matches. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Their first 2 matches were stellar. I expect this one to be just as good, if not better. And these are 2 high caliber, high class, 2 talents in the women's division who are right up there as some of the best, some of the best talents in the women's division right now. Tekla's been on her game, for quite some time, ever since her debut. But she's really picked it up the last several months. And obviously Chris Statlander, ever since returning, she's been obviously one of the best AEW has. Like, she rightfully deserved a women's, AEW women's world title run. And the run she had was great. She had multiple defenses against the likes of Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné, Jamie Hayter, so on and so forth. And she did drop the title to Tekla. And so they're having this 2 out of 3 falls match. And so this match will undoubtedly determine who the true champion is. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be one of the matches of the night. I'm calling it right now. I think these two are that good to the point where they can carry an entire program or they could carry an entire show. Excuse me. They can put on a show-stealing match, is what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, I do think this is going to be that. As to who wins, I do think it's going to come down to the third fall. I don't think either woman is going to take like the first two falls. I think it's going to be, one person wins one. Tekla wins one, then Chris Statlander wins one. It's going to come down to the third fall. And honestly, I'm sure a lot of people conventionally would say Tekla retained, but I just get the feeling that my girl, again, this may be a little bit of bias here, but I just get the feeling my girl, Chris Statlander, is going to win the title back. That's just me, Yeah, I could be wrong, I could be wrong, but I just get the feeling that my girl, Chris Statlander, is going to win back the AEW Women's World Title on this night. I just got that feeling, man. I just got that sinking feeling. I got that sinking feeling. With all due respect to Tekla, she's great, and I do think she's going to definitely be a top contender. She is a top contender, and I do think she'll have multiple stints with the title. But I just feel like on this night, my girl Chris Statlander is going to get it done. I just get that feeling. 2 out of 3 falls match. Chris Statlander pulls out the victory once again and becomes the AEW Women's World Champion for a second time. My prediction. So go Chris Statlander. That's my pick. Excuse me. Moving on. We'll try to speed this along a little bit. Moving on. So next up, we have a singles match. This one being a grudge match. It's going to be Brody King 1-on-1 versus Swerve Strickland. This feud has been brewing for the last several weeks, ever since Swerve Strickland turned heel, taking out, Kenny Omega. Then he's basically been, having this back and forth with Brody King, at least verbally, at first verbally, where Swerve Strickland has called himself the most dangerous man in AEW, and then Brody King took exception to it, and then Brody King started calling himself the most dangerous man in AEW. Then we've seen Swerve Strickland basically take shots at Brody King, cheap shots, left him laid out, a couple weeks ago, a week or two ago. Brody King retaliated, and so thus we have this match here. So yeah, I do think it's going to be definitely physical. It's definitely going to be a fist fight, at least in the beginning. And I do think these two are going to carry a very solid match. I do think both guys are capable of having a very solid match on any given night. And I do think they're going to do that here. As to who wins, excuse me, kind of a toss-up. I'm leaning towards Swerve Strickland, so that's going to be my pick for this match. Give me Swerve Strickland over Brody King. I do think these guys are going to face each other several times down the line as well. I do think these guys are going to face each other a couple times afterwards, so I don't think this is going to be just a one-off match. I do think they're going to have a series of matches. But anyway, for this one, give me Swerve Strickland over Brody King. Next up, we have another singles match here, sort of a kind of another grudge match, if you will. Andrade El Idolo, 1-on-1 versus Bandito, no title on the line, so on and so forth. It's just going to be Andrade El Idolo versus Bandito. And this match has been brewing for the last several weeks as well. Like I said, no title on the line. I don't think Bandito, is he still the Ring of Honor champion? I don't even know. But you would think that the Ring of Honor title, if Bandito was the champion, it would be on the line. But I don't know. I'm so out of, because I don't follow Ring of Honor as closely. I should. But yeah, so as I'm reading it right now, it just says singles match. So, but anyway, so we've been seeing these two guys go back and forth. Obviously, Andrade El Idolo representing the Don Callis family, and then of course Bandito representing, of course, himself, and he has that, he's had the tag team with Brody King, Brodito that being. But yeah, so these two guys have been going at each other, and I do think this is going to be another match, another dark horse match that is, I do think both guys are going to put on a show. I do think it's going to be a dark horse match for match of the night. I do think these two guys are good enough to carry a match to a potential match of the night candidate. And so yeah, I do think it's going to be fun. It's going to be something. It's definitely going to be something special. These two guys are going to put on something special in that match. In this match, I should say. As to who wins, another toss-up here. I'm kind of leaning towards Bandito here. I can see Andrade winning, but I'm kind of leaning towards Bandito here. And once again, much like with Swerve Strickland and Brody King, I don't think this is going to be a one-off match. I do think they're going to have a series of matches down the line, possibly for titles in the future, but I do think these guys are going to face each other a couple. I do think this is the first in the series of matches. But give me Bandito over Andrade El Idolo for this match. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, so next up, we have another title match here. This one being a this one being a no time limit match for the AEW Continental Championship. The champion, Jon Moxley, defends against Konosuke Takeshita of the Don Callis family. So we've been seeing, obviously, these two guys have faced each other before in the Continental Classic, which was inevitably won by Jon Moxley. Of course, they faced each other when it was when of course they were in the same block. Well, of course, that match was won by Takeshita, and Jon Moxley has been wanting another shot at Takeshita ever since. And of course, it was Jon Moxley who inevitably won the Continental Classic and since has held the Continental Championship. And so Takeshita basically gets a shot here, or got a shot. And so now these two are facing each other for said championship. And obviously with Continental Championship rules, all parties are banned from ringside. So the winner of this match will undoubtedly and solidifiably be the winner, and will be the said Continental Champion. I do think this is another match of the night candidate. Any match featuring Jon Moxley is going to be up there, and Konosuke Takeshita has improved vastly in the last year plus. And this is a former IWGP champion. He's a multiple-time champion. International champion. And his game has been elevated to such a degree to where these two guys, Moxley and Takeshita, in the ring together, that is a match of the night candidate. Who knows? Maybe even match of the year. You never know, because I do think these guys have that potential. So I'm definitely looking forward. This is one of the matches on this card I'm most looking forward to. It's for the Continental Championship, but I do think that it has the caliber to be a world title program. I do think these guys are that good. Jon Moxley is multiple-time world champion already, and Takeshita was an IWGP heavyweight champion. So it has that pedigree. It has that potential. I do think this is going to be a match of the night candidate. So Jon Moxley, Konosuke Takeshita, Continental Championship. Who wins? I got Moxley retaining here. Takeshita won in the Continental Classic. I think Jon Moxley gets one up on Takeshita here and retains the title. And I do think we're going to see a rubber match at some point down the line between these two. But Jon Moxley, give me Jon Moxley over Konosuke Takeshita to retain the title here. All right, so then we get down to our final two matches here. We have our tag match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The champions, FTR, defending against the Young Bucks. So these two teams have had a series of matches against each other in the past. Of course, in past outings, you had FTR as the baby faces and the Young Bucks largely as the heels. Now the roles are reversed, where FTR is the heels and the Young Bucks are the baby faces chasing the titles. And of course, this is to determine, at least on paper, not just for the AEW Tag Team Championships, but to determine who the true top tag team in AEW is. Of course, the Young Bucks are chasing a record fourth AEW tag title reign, whereas FTR, the current champions, are three-time champions. Again, they're looking for basically bragging rights to say that they are the team that beat the Young Bucks and dethroned the Young Bucks and so on and so forth. They got a little bit personal when FTR attacked, some members of the Young Bucks' family, so on and so forth. And so, so you add that into the mix, and this ought to be another stellar match, as their previous matches have been. If you've seen a FTR versus Young Bucks tag match in the past, just about every single one of them has been top tier. And I have no doubt in my mind this is going to be top tier as well. Another match of the night candidate. You put FTR and the Young Bucks in a tag match against each other, it is going to be a match of the night candidate. It is going to be up there. Definitely. You could even say match of the year candidate. They are that. They have put on such. They have had such a pedigree. They have had such a track record with matches like this. I have no doubt it's going to happen again. But anyway, FTR, Young Bucks, AEW tag titles on the line. My prediction to who wins. Again, a close one, but I'm leaning towards FTR retaining. They could pull the upset and have the Young Bucks win and have them, win their record fourth AEW World Tag titles, or World Tag title reign, I should say. But I just get the feeling FTR is going to find a way by hook or by crook to retain and win this match. And so, give me FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood over Matt and Nick Jackson, that being the Young Bucks, for this match. But again, it's going to be very, very solid, very stellar match. And then, in the main event, it is going to be a last chance Texas death match for the AEW World Championship. The current champion, MJF, versus the former champion, Hangman Adam Page, with the stipulation being that if Hangman Page loses, he will never be able to challenge for the AEW World Championship again. So yeah, needless to say, the stakes for this match are about as big as any match on this card, as big as any match we've seen in AEW in a long time. Texas Death Match was his Hangman Page's specialty. And so yeah, you would think initially that Hangman Page would have the advantage, but we know how crafty MJF is. He's probably got some kind of trick up his sleeve, whatever the case may be. This is going to be bloody, gritty. We're going to see every single spot. We're going to see every single just shock and awe moment. We're going to see all sorts of weapons being used and things being pulled out of under the ring. Fucking these guys are going to put each other through hell. They're going to go to war. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be violent. It's going to be physical. It's going to be all over the place. Hangman Page is basically synonymous at this point with Texas Death Matches in AEW. And so, yeah, it's going to be one of those matches, man. It's going to be one of those matches where we just don't truly know how it's going to end. Like, AEW is going to be telling a story with this match, and I imagine it's going to be all over the place. And it is going to be, regardless of what happens, it is going to be a shot. Regardless of what happens, I get the feeling that they're going to pull out something in this match that we have likely never seen before. So it's going to be really hard to predict this match because I just don't really like. It could go either way. For one, I don't really see MJF necessarily losing because he literally just won the title in December and he's only had one or two title defenses since. This is his first pay-per-view title defense, and I don't see him being a transitional champion. At the same time, I really can't see Hangman Page losing because if he does, he's never going to challenge for the title. If you remember, Cody Rhodes, when he was in AEW, had the same thing in 2019. He challenged Chris Jericho to a match with a similar stipulation, and Cody Rhodes ended up losing. I think it was MJF who cost Cody Rhodes that match, and that led to their feud. But yeah, it's going to be so difficult to pick a winner here because you really can't see either guy losing. It's going to be really hard to. You just never know. It's going to be so unpredictable as to the finish of this match. It's going to be really hard to determine who's going to win this thing, man. It's going to be something. Last two wins, I got to pick a winner. I just get the feeling that we're going to see something that we've never seen. I get the feeling MJF is going to pull out all the stops and he's going to find a way to put away Hangman Page. I just get that feeling. I have this feeling in my gut. Something's going to happen in this match, and MJF's going to steal. MJF's going to find the way to put down Hangman and Page, and we'll see how that stipulation goes. If Hangman Page losing and never getting a title shot, but we'll see how that goes. But I just get the feeling MJF's going to win, and he's going to retain here. I just get that feeling. We'll see what happens, but regardless of who wins it, we're going to be in for a show tomorrow. It is going to be something special. But yeah, so that's my prediction for that match. AEW World Heavyweight Title Texas Death Match. MJF. Aaron Page. Sorry, I keep coughing. It's just like something stuck in my throat. I got MJF winning and retaining here. We'll see what happens though. It's up in the air to me. It's going to be so hard to accurately predict the winner here because we have no idea what's going to happen. But anyway, so those are all the matches. Those are my predictions. And so that's pretty much going to do it for this video. So thank you all for watching. I did say I was trying to not make this be too long, and it's almost 40 minutes in. It is what it is. But anyway, so that's pretty much going to do it for that. That is going to be it for my AEW Revolution 2026 predictions. So, of course, like I said, the pay-per-view is tomorrow night. Hope y'all, if any of you are going to be watching said pay-per-view, hope you enjoy it. Hope it is enjoyable. I do have to work tomorrow, but I will be off in time for the pay-per-view. So when I get home, I'll get the chance to watch the entire pay-per-view in its entirety. So yeah, I'll get the chance to watch it live. Yes. But anyway, so yeah, looking forward to it, and we'll see how my predictions pan out and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on my predictions, make a few of your own in the comments, all that kind of stuff. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support I can get. With that being said, it's pretty much going to do it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I'm contemplating doing a live reaction to Revolution. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching once again. Till next time, Wrestler Otaku, I'm out. See you guys tomorrow night, and see you guys later. I'm out for now. Peace.